Jenny and I really like to check out old railway stations, believe it or not. And on our way over to South Australia, and while during the drives around South Australia, we've come across lots of different old railway stations, some of them still operating, but many of them out of action and derelict, run down, some of them almost non-existent. The first one we went to was Carisbrook in Victoria, and obviously no longer used as a railway station, but fascinating old architecture and just a great place to walk around and investigate some of the old relics that are still there. Yeah, we found an old jail, a log jail. I think it was Victoria's oldest log jail, dating back to the mid to late 1800s. And fascinating old town, obviously nothing like what it once was, but a lot of old history in Carisbrook. Then we moved on to Maryborough, which is still an operational station, but the architecture of Maryborough was just outstanding. Like you could think it would be a major railway terminal of a capital city. It was that significant, the building, and also a lot of history to do with it, with gold mining and obviously with the farming that's taken over in the area. But it would originally have been in place for the miners, or possibly after the miners, but with mining that continued in the area with Ballarat and Bendigo, and all the freight that would have had to have been a part of that whole area.
The actual railway station building, some of it was used for offices and a cafe, conference room.
We had a great little stop over there in the cafe. It's very nice. The next place that we recorded was the Murray Bridge railway station, which, like I've already said, is where I stopped for at the beginning of a big bike ride. But it's basically now not a passenger terminal as such anymore. It's been taken over by private. Whether it's been sold to private or just hired out to them, I don't know. But Murray Bridge railway station is no longer the terminus that it once was. While in Murray Bridge, we took a bit of a drive over the old Princess Highway road bridge, and just a fascinating old bridge with the railway line next to it. From Murray Bridge we continued up north. Some of the towns up there, the railways don't go any longer. There are just old railway relics of train track and raised section, old railway bridges. But it's most interesting where the old stations are. So we found the Spalding railway station. It just had a crane, and I think the old station is basically just falling apart. we went on to Borough. Our general impressions of Borough were that it was not really our kind of town, but we did like the railway station. It's just amazing. It's now been converted into a B&B, so we might get to stay there one day. We went to Belleley North, where the train no longer runs, but another fascinating old place. It was the highest point of the South Australian railways, and the station and station memorabilia, relics hanging around. But the most fascinating thing that is still there is this old front facade of a general store come shop. It's just in the middle of nowhere. We come across this old shop. From there we went on to Peterborough. Once upon a time it was the busiest steam train junction in the world, with a huge roundabout. I don't know what they call them. I think it's called a roundabout, where they turn the engines and carriages around. It was 200 steam trains a day through that town, and it was a railway town. We had quite an interesting talk to the guide about how the culture of the railway men versus the culture of just the other locals, and how it's quite a segregation of life between...
Still remnants of that.
Still remnants in the town of that segregation between railway workers, who were the sort of the upper class, and the rest of the mob. So, but a fascinating place, and I got a photo of, or a bit of video of me in front of an old transcontinental engine. I've got a photo of me as roughly a 12, 13-year-old in front of a similar engine when I actually was on the Transcontinental Railway and did a trip right across to Perth. While at the museum, the Indian Pacific actually came through. That was fantastic to see it back on its way to Sydney from Perth. The last station that we stopped over in was in Tarowee, which is another old abandoned railway station with a bit of a ghost town of the township itself, which I'll put in another video. But the railway station has become a bit of a camping area, but also more relics, and it pretty much kept in its original state, and just fascinating stuff. So the stations that we went to were absolutely amazing, and so good that many of them at least are in some kind of original condition where you can go and investigate and see how life would once have been. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a tour around South Australian railways and railway stations. See you again soon. Bye.